Woman finds tiny house in the woods, her mouth drops open when she realizes what's in it.
Michael and Tracy had no clue what they were dealing with when they came across an old tiny stone house in the middle of the woods. They couldn't find anything about their strange finds online, and it was like no one has seen such a bizarre thing before. Initially, only confused by their discovery, they became frightened. But when they look inside the house scared, the terrible structure was hiding a big mysterious secret. Michael and Tracy were completely astounded by what they saw. It looked like it must have been there for decades. As they got closer, they began to hear strange noises, a sound that didn't belong in the woods. The woman was still hearing the noise coming from the little house, and that's when the expression on Tracy's face changed. Tracy slowly reached into the cottage, trying to get something out of it. "Michael, you're not going to believe this," Tracy said when she first sighted the little house, and why had no one discovered this before? The couple had seen everything from wild animals to homeless camps on their trail. Their good friend James also accompanied them, even though he wasn't much of an outdoorsman. Michael and Tracy had no reason to doubt his intention. But there was a lot more going on, and he showed something that was very unusual. No path seemed to match their maps, and they even had several others, but none seemed to fit. Tracy thought they might not be allowed to be in this part of the wildlife sanctuary, but none of them had seen a sign along the way. In fact, they even tried it on their phones, but they, unfortunately, had no coverage in the remote area. As they walked deeper into the woods, Michael sensed that something wasn't right. Soon, Tracy decided to recheck their location, and she was glad they were walking in the right direction after all. When they arrived in the middle of the nature reserve, James became visibly excited and started walking faster and faster. While Michael and Tracy walked towards the clearing, they soon realized something else was there. Michael approached cautiously, yet he suddenly fell forward and got his foot caught in something. Tracy rushed over to help him to take off his hiking boot and free himself. But when they looked up, James was already gone. From a distance, Michael saw a structure further ahead, which was a small stone house. Judging by it had been there for several years, but why would anyone stretch wires around an abandoned house, or was the house not abandoned at all? Suddenly, James appeared on the other side of the house, and just then they heard a strange noise. It seemed as if something or someone was still in the mysterious house. Tracy found a small window on the ground floor through which she could see inside. At first glance, all she saw was an empty room. Tracy noticed there was a small box with wires attached to it. However, this whole thing didn't seem threatening, but it was very strange. They had so many questions when James suddenly saw something in one of the trees. Tracy begged him to back off, but James walked towards it. It turned out a camera, and it was attached to the tree. Now they were sure that someone was watching them. The tiny house device was still blinking. They must have triggered some sort of alarm. But suddenly it stopped blinking, and Tracy heard a sound in the distance that approached them. Tracy hurried over to Michael and James to say someone was coming. Now she heard all three footsteps, and without hesitation, the group took off. Though James took the device with him because he wanted to find out what it was, that's when they heard something screaming in distance. Along with the suspicious noise, the device started making noise again, and Michael yelled at James to drop it. Maybe they were probably able to chase the device. However, James was very stubborn and didn't want to leave it behind. On the other hand, Tracy wanted to find out who was following them and why. Michael didn't want to leave her alone and hesitantly agreed to the plan. They both were stunned to see two German shepherds approaching, and then suddenly the dog was whistled away and a mysterious man approached them. Who was the strange man? The man didn't seem to have any bad intentions. But why was he chasing them even though they didn't have the device with them anymore? Maybe the dog picked up their scent. The man came up to them and asked what they were doing there. Michael was relieved that he just wanted to talk to them. It turned out to be the ranger named Patrick. He was investigating why a device was active in this part of the forest and had many questions for the couple. Michael and Tracy went on to explain why they were there and that they had found a little strange stone house. They said they had no intentions. Patrick asked, where is the device now? But why did he want to know? Was there something Michael and Tracy didn't know? They told him that their friend James had brought the device. However, Patrick could locate that James was close to the edge of the woods and even his dogs wouldn't be able to catch up with him. So, the ranger invited Tracy and Michael to his cabin to explain everything. Patrick told them that the little house was under guard, but he couldn't tell exactly why. The decades-old structure was a leftover part of a closed amusement park that he wanted to protect, and he had accidentally left the device there himself. It was quite expensive, so he wanted it back. Tracy and Michael believed, but deep inside Patrick felt he was only half the truth. Meanwhile, James was still missing and had taken the device with him in the thought that he would find something extraordinary. Tracy tried to call James to explain everything to him, but James didn't answer, whereas Michael was frustrated with how James had handled the whole situation and just left them behind. Soon they heard a voice in the distance, and it was, to their great surprise, James, except he didn't have the device with him. Patrick immediately wanted to know where the device was, but James wasn't ready to reveal the truth. Finally, Patrick began to tell them the whole story. There was a rare species of animal that had been spotted there and he didn't want anyone else to claim his discovery, so he left the device behind. James was disappointed as he thought he had found something very special, but later apologized to all three. A few days later, they saw Patrick in the paper, including a thank you to the three for their help.